When you live in a small town, everyone knows where you've been and what you have done. I've been trying to leave this old town since I...
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. I'm Zeta.
And I'm Kelly, and you're listening to
Two Sides and the Truth. Okay, so catching up today, I don't have much of anything to say.
Wonderful. This is going to be great.
It's going to be awesome. Are y'all so excited?
What a way to start.
I know. So catching up, let's see. We had Madison's birthday this weekend.
Nice.
And Rick decided to invite his brothers, and one brother's married and has 2 kids, and they came over. Did he tell me they were all coming over? No, he didn't.
Of course not.
No. He said, I think I'm going to invite my brother. And I was like, okay, whatever. That's cool. And he was grilling. So he was doing all the meat, and he had plenty. But, I'm doing the appetizers not the appetizers, but the sides, And so it's a day, So then he's like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, what time is Brad going to be here? Nick and Mason are coming too, which is his other brother and his son. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, Meredith can't make it, which is his sister-in-law, and they have a daughter too. And they didn't make the last one because they had something going on. And he was like, I don't know. I don't think so. I was like, okay. So I'm thinking I have at first just 1 extra person, then 3 extra people. Turns out there were 2 more, and Rick knew. They told him.
So ridiculous.
Like he knew, but he didn't know. He didn't think it was that important. I had enough food, but it could have gone bad.
It's nice to have a heads up of who was all going to be in your house.
I know. And so they all come over and we have dinner, which, is lovely. And it's the first time I've seen some of them since the engagement. And I really had a good laugh at his niece and nephew, because his niece and nephew are very competitive, just like him and his brothers were.
Yeah.
Particularly Rick. Rick is the instigator of the brothers.
I could see that. Yeah.
Brad's a close second.
Yeah.
And Nick doesn't give a shit.
There's always that one.
Yeah. He's over there like, cool dude. And Rick will talk about their childhood. And when he talks about Nick, how it would drive him nuts because his mom would be like, pissed if they didn't do what they were supposed to do before she got home, and which is understandable. Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't do it. And there was going to be fury at the end of this situation. Like mom was going to be pissed and everybody was going to pay the price. And Nick would not pitch in on getting everything done. And so Rick would do everything he could, like beat the hell out of him, threaten him, whatever, to do it, because he was the oldest brother. And they're only 11 months apart. So Nick basically was like, F you.
Yeah.
And then his mom would come home and everybody got blamed. Meanwhile, him and the other brother had really tried. And it has messed with his head ever since. So when you see them all together, it's real evident how different they are. Like there's like 3 different people. But first off, Brad shows up, which Brad is the youngest one. He's the ladies' man. He's
Cactus Brad.
He's Cactus Brad for those that are OGs.
Yeah.
He's Cactus Brad. And so Brad shows up, and Brad is he's got on jeans and boots and a button-up pearl snap denim shirt, and he's got it unbuttoned so you can see the chest tattoo, and which I've mentioned before. It looks great.
You're really painting a picture here.
I want people to get the picture. He's a ladies' man. He's a good-looking guy. Yeah. He's charming. I really love Brad. And I think of him like a little brother. I love Brad. And then there's Rick, the oldest brother. And he's got his ball cap on and his denim pearl snap shirt on as well. And his pants, his denim, they both have Wranglers on, and his boots. So they're both wearing Wrangler denim shirts with pearl snaps and Wrangler jeans and boots. They could not look more different. They're dressed identical. Like they have the same clothes on. They could not have a more different look. Rick is like Rip from Yellowstone. And Brad is like if Rip was hanging out at the bars, and never wanted to get married or maybe go to work. But he has a good job, so I don't actually, mean that. Anyway, so the niece and nephew show up. The brothers are all hanging out, having a good time. Everything was wonderful. But after we were finished with dinner, they're all hanging out in the driveway where Rick, that's like, obviously outside the garage, that's Rick's man cave. Mm-hmm. And so everybody's hanging out. And I don't have like kid shit. Yeah. Like my kids are grown.
You have kid toys.
I don't. I do have Legos. I should have brought them out. that was a last minute thought. But so they were trying to find something to do. The kids were bored. And they're like, I think they're 5 and 7.5, I think. And Mason, the boy, is just the sweetest kid. And his little sister is just a spitfire. She's hilarious. I feel like if she was an adult, she'd be part of our friend group.
Yeah, probably.
So that's warning enough.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing for her.
She's gonna be hell on wheels, I'm pretty sure, and she's beautiful. And so anything her brother would do, she had to do better. And she's the younger sibling.
Yeah,
there's nothing to do. So Uncle Brad and Uncle Rick are coming up with shit for them to do, and it's basically exercise. You want to race? Y'all should race. And they start racing. Really? You know what y'all should do? Push-ups. Who can do the most push-ups? And then they try push-ups. Who can do the most set-ups? They do set-ups. They start with like 15 set-ups. Mason, no, it started with Madeline first. She did 15 set-ups. Mason's like, I can do 16. So he does 16 set-ups. So then she was like, really? I can do more. She goes down, she does 20. He was like, I can do more. And they're like really struggling the last few each time they do it. So we think this is over. Nope. He does 21.
It's never over.
Then she gets down there, she does 30. So she's at like 65 setups at this point. She's 5. And they're real setups. Like, they're not letting them, if you half-ass it, it doesn't count. Like, the Reeves brothers are not playing. And so she does her setup, and she does her 30, and then Mason is like, I can do 31. He did like 35 just to put a little cherry on it.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that one. And then they just kept doing exercises. And I was like, they're going to be so sore. And all of these perfect-shaped Reeves brothers are like, nah. They'll be fine. They're Reeses. They're fine. They'll be fine. Because, they are built for, like, life.
Yeah.
And God bless them all. And, no, they've been sore for 3 days. Nick called Rick, and he was like, it hurts to laugh, apparently. Their spring break is screwed.
They can't do nothing recovering all of spring break.
But I thought that's so funny that is what they came up with. And it's really fun to watch Rick and Brad with their niece and their nephew because they're just such good uncles. Like, they're like involved and they think they're funny. And meanwhile, they're loud. Okay, so they're like yelling and they're loud. And here I am, mama 4, 2 that are autistic, which one was really loud of the 2 of them. I can't handle it. I am like, this is a lot. Like,
there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I realized that maybe I'm old and bitchy because this was too much for me. I was like, do I want grandkids? I don't know. Do I have to watch them? That's not some Gen X shit.
Right.
Anyway, so that was my Saturday night. And we had Madison's thing. She was very happy. That's good. Then on Sunday, you and I had plans, which you can start on. Well, I guess because you're going to have your own other catching up stuff. So on Sunday, we go to Christie's, our friend that we've talked about last week. Our friend's memorial service at the Rocket, and which is the bar that I worked at for years, and that I debated on going. So glad we went.
Yeah. That was the first time me and you went back to Rocket together in a minute.
I know.
It felt kind of weird.
And
good.
And all the bikers were there.
Oh my gosh, it was biker heaven.
So when I worked at the bar, bike night was Thursdays.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of money.
That was the good old days.
So busy. So we got there, and holy shit, the porch of the bar was shoulder to shoulder. Mm-hmm. There were Harleys everywhere.
Yep.
We go inside, it's shoulder to shoulder. And it took, how long do you think it took us to get us from the front of the porch, not even on the porch, front of the porch to the bar?
No, I don't even know. At least
35 minutes?
At least.
Yeah. Because we knew everybody.
Yeah.
And so the whole way we're getting stopped, which is awesome because everybody's like talking to us about it and talking about Christy, but not harping about it because nobody's trying to cry. I guess the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's true.
So we did there. We saw everybody. How many people do you think were there?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
I mean, a few hundred.
It was packed.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see that.
It was shoulder to shoulder.
It made my heart happy for
It
her.
did mine too. Yeah, everybody showed up. And like, you kind of, I guess I kind of forgot that feeling of when I worked there and just like the busy and the bustling and like all these like cool people that were like, I mean, there's a lot of creative people there, a lot of characters. And it's my only time in my life I've been exposed to a ton of bikers. Mm-hmm. And I feel very comfortable after working there with bikers, even after my story of the freezer. That was only the bad story I really have. I was taken very well care of, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to just see all this support and all this love and all these bikers like tearing up. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Of course, the very first thing that happened when I walked in the door is a biker that I knew immediately sees Kelly and I and talks to us and interacts with us. And then I did tell the story on here about how I got screwed over by the car dealership. Mm-hmm. He worked at that car dealership. And so the first thing he said to me, he's quit there since then. And he worked there like 20 years. And so he was like, I love everything you ever say about them. Don't stop. It's all truthful. After that, he starts flirting with Kelly. It's clear he's got a little interest in Kelly. So we go in, we do our thing, whatever. We go back out. They're going to take a big picture of a bunch of people that came. It wasn't the whole group, though. Not everybody came out of the bar. So the picture doesn't even, I saw the picture today. You can't even tell. It's just like a bunch of bikers, which is a bunch of black. And some people purple for Christy.
Yeah.
It looked like a big bruise. Like, they're just a bunch of people. I did find us, but it wasn't easy. Because we wore black. Not because it was a funeral, but because, you know.
We're us.
We like black. And so as we're leaving, he sees me and he pulls me aside. He was like, hey, your girl over there, she's single? I was like, nope.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. She's off the market. Sorry.
Seats taken.
Seats taken.
I thought it was funny that we were just standing off to the side. We were kind of letting people just come up to us at a moment. And Zeta was like, well, I don't want to approach too many people because you don't know if they have an old lady standing by. And I was like, that is so true.
Yeah. So people that don't know the biker world, if you've seen Sons of Anarchy, I think you have an idea. I've never watched the show, but I have worked in the environment and know the environment. You don't just approach a biker man.
Nope.
Unless you know his old lady or you know it's a safe situation. Like, somebody has to let you know it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they approach you or you are introduced.
Yes.
Yeah.
And unless you're the bartender or the waitress, which was awesome because I got to know all of them. Was never, but you know, on Sunday I am not the waitress or bartender.
Yeah,
I am just a friend. Mm-hmm. So there are all these bikers, and I'm like, I'm not approaching any of them. I'm not fucking stupid.
Me neither.
I'm not getting in a fight at a funeral because I approached the wrong person.
Yeah.
And they, you know, and so. They approached us, the ones that wanted to and the ones that didn't, and I was fine with them not.
Yep.
But yeah, we had to make that rule, which is how you got in the situation you did where someone didn't like you and attacked you and assaulted you like we talked about.
Yep.
Was a biker's.
And I didn't even do anything really that time. She just thought I did.
Yeah. And so we know the rules. Mm-hmm. So we just stood there and let people approach us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It worked out fine.
Yeah. Then I had a biker come up to me and introduce himself to me and then, you know, walked off. And I was like, well, I guess he doesn't have an old lady. But I was still scared. I was looking around. I was like, I didn't do that. I didn't even.
No, it was really funny. So another thing that was kind of cool was that there is a lady there that was a regular customer of mine whenever I worked there. And her fiance was a dickhead. And I wouldn't normally care enough. Like, what's it my business?
Yeah.
But it was so blatant. And he would hit on Christy and I in front of her.
Oh, that's the worst.
And he would make comments to her about what we look like compared to her in front of us. And so Christy and I would say shit back, like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know? And at the same time that you want to insult him, you don't want to insult her.
Yeah.
And be like, fuck, you wouldn't have a chance with me, dude. But you don't want to say that because then it makes it sound like she's not. No, she was too good for him too.
Oh, yeah.
She was just not in the right spot in life, you know? So every time they came in, it just got to the point it was gross. And her and him had friend requested me on social media, and I would not accept because he grossed me out.
Yeah.
And I thought he had ulterior motives, so I wouldn't accept him. And so I'd seen her in years, and we walked in there, and she is married to someone else. And he seemed awesome, honestly.
She seemed super happy too.
She did seem super happy.
I love to see that.
And then within 3 hours of leaving there, I had a friend request from her. I accepted her. I'm happy to have her. Yeah. She was not the problem. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool because she's my age, and she found that love at my age.
Yeah.
And she was kissing a frog for a good 5 years. She was the breadwinner. She was paying all the bills. He was a loser. I never could understand it. I never could understand it.
Those situations you really can't wrap your head around.
There was not, didn't bring even looks to the table. One time I asked her, I said, I hope he has a real big dick. And she laughed. She goes, what does that mean? I said, what the fuck you think? It's the only thing he might have going for him.
Bless his heart.
Bless your heart. Yeah. Exactly. Anyways, that's all the catching up I really got. That was the takeaway. It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I'm so happy we went.
And I didn't cry until we were leaving. Mm-hmm. And the last person I hugged was Dave, who was our fellow bartender. Mm-hmm. It was the three of us.
I love Dave.
Who doesn't love Dave?
He is so wonderful.
And he's
so tall. I love to hug him.
When he looked me in the eyes and he was like, we had special times, the three of us.
That did it. That done did it. I was like, oh, motherfucker.
Kelly's like, we gotta go.
I got her through this whole time without the waterworks, and now here you are.
And her ex wasn't there, and that made me real happy.
Yeah.
I was real kind of worried I wouldn't handle that very professionally. I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, we didn't get beat up. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. We didn't piss off any old ladies. Nothing.
We're so good.
Yeah. What you got? What's been going on with you?
Well, I took our own advice from our last episode about, spending more quality time with the people that you love. And so I rearranged some, of my scheduling, and I went and saw my family this weekend. I went and saw my mom and dad and my little brothers. One of my brothers, he works at Little Caesars now, and he was so excited because they came out with a new thing on Monday, which are these little like pizza bites. They look like little pizza cupcakes or whatever.
Okay.
And so he was practicing making them because they were going to release them on Monday. So he got to make some and bring some home. Oh. And we were like some of the first people who got to try them. He's like, these aren't even out yet. He was so excited.
Were they good?
Yes, they were. It's like a pizza cupcake. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so good. I was like, you need to go back up there and make some more. But I had a really good time hanging out with them. And then I got to go and listen to my dad preach, which my dad is a pastor. He's had his own church before, and he preaches at different churches. Right now, he is not actively a pastor at a church. He is working with a mental health facility, but he's wanting to get back into pastoring a church. And so he was like guest pastoring at my sister's church that she goes to. So we all went to church to listen to him. And it was so nice being able to hear my dad. He's my favorite person to listen to.
Oh, I bet.
He really is.
And he walks the walk, so it makes it extra good.
That's one of the things. And not that, I have kind of a 50-50 when it comes to church. I've had some bad experiences and some really good ones. But I'm not that I'm jaded, but I'm very protective of myself when it comes to the people that I listen to and the people that I let teach me.
Yeah.
Because I know what the Bible says. I was taught by my dad. And so whenever and everybody can have their own renditions. They can read the same passage and get something completely different out of it. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I'm always wary of what people are telling me. I like to go back and fact check myself as well. And so just listening to my dad. I'm that way with politics. It just felt so comfortable and so freeing. I just loved it. So I had some really good family time. Have I got to go see the new Dune? Still no. I'm so upset.
Zoe is going
I'm so upset.
tomorrow to see it with her new little boyfriend. Aww. I don't know if that's officially her boyfriend, but she did tell me she was taken the other day.
Yeah, she did.
So she doesn't like Dune. So she went and she had to watch it the other night so that she would be prepared for Dune 2. And she didn't think she wouldn't like it. She did not care for it.
Yeah.
She said it was boring to her.
Wow.
But she said she won't let him know that.
And I can understand some people might think that it is boring. I like the books better. I read the books first. And of course, the books are always better than the movies are because you can fit more into it.
Is this the same? I'm so illiterate with movies and books at this point in life. I used to read a lot of books, y'all, but not anymore. Is this the same? And my memory sucks, so I could totally be fucking this up. But the Dune, like the one from the 80s that they did with Tina Turner in it?
So it's based off the same book.
Because I'll do anything Tina Turner does.
It's based off the same book,
Okay.
but it's just,
I did see that movie.
yeah.
Didn't read the
But
book.
the books are so much better. So if you are a book reader, read the Dune books.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the movies. I like them, but they just don't pack as much into it.
Yeah.
And so if you
I'm usually that way. If I've read the book, the movie is
if you
hard.
don't know the story, I could see how the movie like is a little bit lacking. Like you're like, well, what's really going on? But if you know the story, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
So
Well, I failed as a parent because Zoe the other day said she wanted me to take her to the library because she wanted to rent Lonesome Dove. Which sounds like I succeeded at parenting, that she wanted to go rent Lonesome Dove. But I didn't. As a Texan, I failed because her boyfriend wanted her to read it because it's his favorite book. And so he didn't tell her to read it. He just said it's my favorite book.
yeah.
So she wanted to rent it.
She's
so
doing
she
some
could Read
research.
it. Yeah. And it is my favorite book. And I love that book. I have read it probably 6 times. How has my daughter, A, not read it, B, I've never even thought to ask her to read it.
Gosh, Seda.
Here's the deal. I didn't realize she's never seen the miniseries either. Because it wasn't a movie. It was a miniseries.
Yeah.
We have 2 cousins named Gus after the movie. They're actually Augustus. They're her cousins, not mine. My cousins, that's their children. And she's never seen the movie. She's never read the book. I felt like a failure when she told me that. But it made me feel like I'm going to like the guy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's another green flag.
Yeah. So, okay, keep going. Sorry.
All right. So, and also this is spring break for Waxahachie. So I am working full days because we do an all day camp during spring break. But we had a really fun day today because we're partnered with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are a partner of the Salvation Army, and they do a lot for the Salvation Army. And since we are a Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club, we get a lot of those things as well. And so they invited all of the, this area, like Waxahachie and Dallas and, DeSoto and that area, all of the Salvation,
South
all
Dallas.
of the Salvation Armies around that area, they invited to Dave and Buster's to do a, kickoff of spring break. And so they had them all come in for a private party. So before they opened to the public, and each kid that came got a gaming card. And not just with a few bucks on. They put $45 on each gaming card for the kids. And they had a lunch buffet. So they got fries and chicken strips and macaroni and little pizza and hamburger sliders and a fruit area and dessert. They went all out. They had the mascot. I think he's called Rowdy. Is that his name? I don't know. If you're a Cowboys fan, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that
I don't know either. We're both from Dallas.
I love the Cowboys because they're our team, but I'm not a football person, so I'm the last.
Either.
I don't know any of the names. There was a player out there too. Do I know who it was? No.
There are many Dallas Cowboy players over the years I've met, and I can't tell you who any of them are.
I was there and talked to him for a minute, and the kids took pictures with him and everything. And they were he's going crazy. I, of course, have no idea who it even was. I think his last name was Williams.
I have no idea.
I don't know who it was. But he was very nice. And, obviously doing something taking the time to do that, I'm sure he got paid very nicely to do that. But that's awesome.
I don't know. A lot of those guys, they don't get paid. They do it
because they're told to.
Well, I don't know if they're told they have to do charity work.
I have a feeling that they say, hey, do we have volunteers for this? And if they don't have volunteers for it, then they have voluntold.
Yes.
And so
I know that when I was a kid in the 80s and we did Pee Wee football in Red Oak, which is just south of Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys would show up every year for our banquet. We'd have 1 or 2 Dallas Cowboys. And we would get to meet them and whatever. Did I know who they were? No.
No.
I do remember I did meet Randy White. Do I know who he is? No. But I know he was a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, I know who I met when I was in my 20s at the club. But I don't,
Sorry.
I don't know what,
time.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, the kids, they were all getting their shirts signed too. But I didn't care, but then the little mascot came around too and they were getting their shirts signed by the mascot. And then I was taking pictures and then the girls were like, Kelly, get yours signed too. So I have my shirt signed as well.
By the mascot.
Yeah.
Well, then we could have, what's the name? Turn around. I'll know the name.
It's really hard to read. I really think it's Rowdy. I think it's Rowdy.
Okay.
I think that's his name. Well, and he also signed like whatever his name actually is too. So it's Rowdy and then whatever his name actually is. But I have no idea what it is.
Would you like a little known fact about Zeta?
Sure.
I was my high school mascot.
Were you?
I was 1 year.
Wow.
I did a little bit of everything in high school.
Gosh, you were just a hat trick.
Well, here's the deal. When you were a cheerleader, you got to hang out with all the cheerleaders. When you're a mascot and you go to mascot camp, you hang out with all the mascots. And guess who was the only girl mascot? Me. It was awesome. Hung out with all the boys all week at camp, and they hung out with each other. And they were cute. There was one other girl, Dobie, who I just found on Facebook. Haven't seen her since like 1991. Found her on Facebook the other day on accident. She showed up commenting on. I was like, "Oh, that's my girl at camp." I'm not kidding.
Good old Facebook.
Her name was Dobie. Come on. But yeah, just found her. She's a real estate agent somewhere around here.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I was the mascot. I was Herkimer Hawk at Red Oak High School in 1991.
Very nice.
I liked it because I got to play with the kids and I didn't have to like be cute. And I mean, I guess I was cute. I was on the homecoming shit and all that stuff, but I liked being the Hawk. It was fun.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Little fun fact.
So it's been a really fun week so far. Looking forward to it to be over.
So Kelly and I were talking about our catch-up session, and I was like, Dante is a little too perfect. Because it's hard to come up with things to talk about when Dante doesn't F up.
He's not bringing any spicy content.
He's bringing nothing to the table. He's never like an asshole. His mom's not an asshole. Not, like.
Even his kids aren't assholes.
No. And I mean, I need him to kind of screw up a little. Right. Like, he doesn't have a crazy aunt. Like, there's nothing to offer. Because I got plenty in my closet.
I know. Like, really, the only, like, any kind of anything we ever had was when we first started dating, and his
the crazy woman
ex was still kind of, around.
And of course, he's
crazy.
perfect, so he nipped that in the bud.
Yeah, he handled that. And, but that was it. It's the only problems we've ever had. And it wasn't even like a problem between us. It was a problem between them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I can let him know. But, I mean, I really don't want him to start
No, we don't want him to screw up. But he can't find a crazy aunt. Maybe he's hiding them from you. Maybe they're in the basement.
I'm going to just need him to tell me about his secret life that he has because I need some content.
I mean, the first time I met Rick's uncle, they took 9 knives away from him in a bar.
Yeah. Well,
like, we got some stories.
I'm the person that they're having to take knives away from.
That's also true. That's also true. The other day, I came here to Al's, and someone needed a knife, and they were like, "Where's Kelly when you need her?"
Even the kids at the Boys and Girls Club knows how it's gotten around that I always have a knife. One of the kids came up to me the other day because he was trying to like cut this like string thing off of something, and he was like. And then I don't want to say names. This girl was like, "Hey, Miss Kelly, where's your knife? We need it." I was like, "I'm just gonna give you some scissors. I'm not gonna whip out my knife for this."
Yeah, what knife? There's no knife on me.
That's not just for every occasion. Anytime I need it, that's just for protection.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's no knife.
Miss Kelly, where's your knife? Would y'all stop that?
It's in my bra. Okay.
I'm not getting it out. Oh, yeah, just not. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, anything else on the catching up? Are we caught up?
We're all caught up.
We are caught up.
Hey, Zeta, you know what time it is?
What time is it, Kelly?
It's time to pop the top
On the topic of the day.
All right, so our topic of today is lifestyle differences and the cause and effect of those differences when it comes to your relationships.
And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. What can you do about it?
What can
Should
you
you
do
do
about it?
anything about it?
Yeah. And a little bit what creates it.
Yeah.
So it could be, it could have to do with your generation. It could have to do with even your birth order.
Yes.
That sounds silly, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Like Rick and his brothers, their birth order makes a huge difference on their relationship.
Yeah.
And so when we were talking about this, we're in an election year. We're not going to talk politics here because I don't give a shit how you vote.
We do not care.
Yeah. But I may not care personally, but it's not going to, it is what it is. Election year brings out the worst in people.
It sure
And
can.
I've never heard anyone go, let's talk politics. This brings out the best in you. And it brings out the worst in people, both sides, all sides, probably every country. I don't think this is just an American thing. Maybe it's extra bad right now in America. I don't know. But you see a lot of generational differences in politics.
Yeah.
So I have a friend, and this is actually, when we started talking about this friend was in the back of my head the whole time. I don't think I even said it to you, but this friend was in the back of my head the whole time. And she's experienced a lot in the last few years with her children, which she's my age, her children, which are my children's age, and what their life is like and what they are going through. And it has affected how she feels. And so everything her parents taught her has now changed to her because now she's the parent and experienced life through her children who have taught her new things in life. And so when she tries to explain to her parents, the grandparents, hey, my kids need you to understand this about them, or my kids need you to think about this because it affects their future, and how it's affected the parents in between the grandparents and the children. Because you want to honor your parents, but you've got to protect your children.
Yep.
So it creates this weird situation where she is stuck in the middle of this, where she's got to honor one and she's got to protect the other. But at the end of the day, she's going to choose to protect her kids and to fight for her kids over honoring her parents. And now her parents are in the older stage where they need care. And who do they need to care for them? Her and her children.
Yep.
The very people that were demonized,
Yep.
quite honestly. And so that's what got me thinking on this subject originally.
You really got to think about how those roles change down the road.
They do. Eventually, the caregiver becomes the one that needs care.
Yep.
And you got to think about who's caring for you.
I told my mom I'm putting her in a home the first chance I get.
My kids are always like, I always got you, Mom. I will always have you. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, only one of y'all right now, I think, has this option.
Really limited here.
I mean, but I mean, it makes a difference. So my dad and I agree on a lot in aspect of life, politics, not all politics. 'Cause he's a little overboard sometimes. I have had a call, even though we agree on a lot of politics, we don't agree on a lot of politics. And I have had to call and be like, dude, get off Facebook. What the fuck? What are you putting out there? Why are you putting that on there? And it's not necessarily I don't even agree with what he's saying. It's just not the right place to say it.
Yeah, that's just not.
I don't know anyone that's ever looked at social media and said, oh my God, I never thought of that. I'm going to change sides.
You totally changed my whole life.
Yeah. And, so no. And so he'll be like, rah, rah, rah. No, Dad, no, you just reel it in. And that's me having to deal with my dad. Thankfully, my dad and I have a great relationship. Mm-hmm. We can talk about anything. He might get heated a little bit, but we have a good communication. But I have other friends that have had to cut off communication with their parents because it's been so, what's the word? I've got the hiccups suddenly.
Oh no, not the hiccups.
I get them every day. I get them every day.
That's not a good thing.
Every day. Anyway, they just come and go real quick. Anyway, so sometimes people are so polarizing that even their children can't cover it. They can't protect it. Or it could be the reverse. The parent might not be the polarizing person. Maybe it's their kid. It can go all over the place, But how do you deal with that? And our religions, if you're a different religion than them, you've come to maybe you're an atheist and they're a big time Christian, or maybe they're an atheist and you're a big time Christian. How do you
they're just spiritual.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to go to church. Maybe they don't like organized religion.
Yes. Yeah. And so, that's kind of why I thought this was a really good subject. And in your case, you and your parents are pretty on board in the same stage. Like, do you ever run into something where you're like, no?
No, not really. I mean, obviously when I was younger and I was in my rebellious state, I guess you could say, but when it comes to like really important things and like we always kind of saw eye to eye. We've had things in our family that have kind of rocked us a little bit.
Your marriage, that was a bit of a...
that was. And then I've also had one of my aunts who was, married and had kids and got a divorce, and she's now married to a woman. And that was a little bit of a hiccup in our family because some of them didn't really know how to take that.
Right.
They didn't know how to support that.
Yeah.
I, of course, am the kind of person that
I'm ready to be their best friends.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love the person that you love as long as they're treating you right. Like, I will be there. I will show up, I went to their wedding. There were people in my family that didn't go to their wedding because that was
against their religious beliefs.
They still love them and they support them and they don't have anything negative to say, but they didn't go to their wedding.
But they're not talking shit about them either.
No, but it was just that they just weren't going to do that, and I can understand that and I can respect that because that's your view. That's the way you see it, and that's what makes you comfortable or uncomfortable. And I'm not going to judge what you decide is right or wrong for you. Like, I might not get it. I might not understand it. I might be like, there was a minute there that I was a little like, really? But then I was like, no, okay, that's them. The only thing I need to do is focus on me. What I'm here. I think
our life lessons get us places, and your life lesson had gotten you there, and their life lesson got them there.
Yeah. But and then at the end of the day, just being respectful, like whether or not you agree with what they are going to do or what they say. I love them enough that I'm not going to let that get in the way of me loving them and me respecting them and me keeping that relationship healthy. Because they're not hurting me by their decision. Yeah. It's not keeping me up at night. It's not putting me in any kind of, like, that's their decision. Yeah. So right or wrong, either way.
If here's where it runs into where it is hurting you. So this is your aunt. She's a grown woman. She's older than you, right? So you're right. It's not hurting you. This is someone you've looked up to and you've learned from. Yeah. But when it's your child and people are judging or not coming or whatever, however they're showing how they feel about it, I feel like it's a different situation. I feel like it's my job as a parent that if you don't support my kid, we're going to have a problem. But if you don't support my dad, it's not as big a problem.
I know. But you know what?
Because honestly, my dad doesn't need me to fight his battles.
I know, but when your kid doesn't always either.
Yeah, it's a tough line,
and that's when you go to your child and you say, and you have the conversation with them and see how they're feeling about it. Do you need me to go to bat for you? How is this making you feel? Are you okay with this? Yeah. And then if they need you to go out and shank somebody, go do it. But if they don't,
am just a problem with I want to shank them all before asking. But you're right. I should probably ask first.
Because they could maybe save you a trip to jail.
Probably.
Like, not this one. You'll get the next one, Tiger.
Right. Because I will cut a bitch over those kids.
And I know you will. And so, but that's the thing. Like, it's fine to feel that way. That's a natural. I'm assuming I'm not a mother, but that's a natural want to protect them. But then there's also that realizing that they don't always need your protection. And having a good enough relationship with them and having a good enough communication with them will help you weather those ups and downs to figure out how you can go to bat for them or shank somebody if they need you to.
Maybe help you whittle the knife out of the soap. You don't know.
And when it was in my aunt's case, I knew that she was okay. I knew that she didn't need me to go to bat for her.
Right.
She needed me to show up for her, and I did. And she needed me to do her makeup and her hair, and I did.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that having that does a lot of buffering to the other stuff.
Yeah.
So that hurt to not have somebody show up.
But to have someone show up that when others aren't gives you like extra, I don't know if affection, the right respect for the person who does show up. Yeah. I mean, I remember when y'all went through that. And I was like, do I need to go?
I will be there.
Let's all show up. But you're right. Like, that's a very hard example. Mm-hmm. And it could be religious-wise as well.
Yeah.
So a good example of religious-wise is so stupid, too. My mom and I, one of the biggest fights we ever got in, I was probably 11, 12. And I was getting baptized. And she did not like the minister that was baptizing me, and was not a fan of organized church because she had situations happen to her in an organized church setting that were bad. So she had a problem with this. And the person who baptized me, and he was probably 35-ish when he was my minister, and in my head, he was an old man. Mm-hmm. In my mom's head, he was 35, and he had just gotten out of the stage in life where he was an outlaw because my stepdad grew up with him, and he used to date my aunt. Oh. So, like, my mom knew things I didn't know, and she had a problem.
Yeah.
And so she lost her shit on me getting baptized. So one of the biggest fights we ever had was me getting baptized by this particular man, and she had a real big problem with it. And in my head, my mom's mad I'm getting baptized. That wasn't it.
Yeah.
I'm an adult now. I'm a mom now. That wasn't it. I'm getting baptized by somebody she knew too much about.
Yeah.
Do I think as an adult now he was a better person? Absolutely. I think his heart was pure. I had nothing but good experiences. This man and his family, his wife, his children, like they were good people. But I get where my mom was coming from, especially with her background.
Yeah.
It took me decades to figure that out. So me then was like, nope, you're wrong. How dare you? We're going to fight. Let's go. I'll stand up on this. Blah, 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 blah. Adult date is like, you dumb bitch. Your mom was speaking because she knew.
Yeah.
And you didn't know. And she had experience. So now that I'm an adult, I try to take that into account with my dad. My mom's passed, so I don't have that with her. But with my dad, with my children, with other family members that I may not agree with, I always just, and really that was the deciding thing in my life that I realized that I didn't live their life and I didn't know where my mom was coming from because I didn't know at that point in my life her experiences. And I didn't know what she knew. I was ill-informed on what she knew. Mm-hmm. So to me, I demonized her. But in reality, she was protecting me. Even though I didn't need protecting, she didn't know if I needed protecting, but she was going to err on the side of precaution. And so I think that when we have family members that are in a different generation, whether it be higher or lower, and we can't understand where they're coming from, that is fine. We just have to understand that we don't understand because we haven't lived their life, and it might be a shorter life. It might be your children or your niece or your nephew that you don't understand.
Yeah.
But they have lived a different life than you. It takes one experience that really affects you to change so much about you, whether it be a good example. When those kids just talked about the catching up thing and Rick's niece and nephew having this competition. Rick's little niece is 5 years old. She's cute as can be. She's tiny. She's a tiny little kid. Tiny. She's doing these setups. She said, maybe I won't be fat now. Mm-hmm. I said, what? Because you know me. I said, what?
Whoa.
No one else really paid attention. And her mom's like, yeah, some little kid on the bus told her she was fat the other day, and it's all she can think about.
Oh, my gosh.
That one little comment fucked her up. And this kid's tiny. There's not an ounce of, I've never been this tiny. And I wish that was my biggest issue, that I was that tiny. And I don't. I take that back. I don't, because I haven't walked her life. The girl's tiny. This is just a kid being an asshole who said it on a whim, who probably didn't mean it, doesn't remember saying it. It affected her. She's 5 years old, and she thought she was doing setups the other day and was happy she might lose weight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So there could have been something religious in someone's background, political in their background. It could be anything. It could be that the color blue they hate because someone that treated them really bad wore the color blue. Mm-hmm. Or maybe someone in second grade told them they look like shit in red. And they just don't let it go. So I just think that that's one of those things where we have to understand that we don't understand. So what I'm seeing is clear as day regarding to religion, politics, relationships, whatever, is clear as day to me, because that my life experiences led me there. Mm-hmm. But that is not where their life experiences led them also.
Yep.
Now, are there exceptions to not accepting it? Yes.
Yes.
So, racism.
You got to stand your ground.
Racism. So in my case, some people can swallow sexism. And they're like, it's okay, I understand. Like, I don't.
No, I don't either.
Some people that's okay with. Not okay in my book, you know? But for some people, that is not important to them. Whatever, their life brought them to that. I am going to choose at that point. I don't have to maybe fix that relationship.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay to not be okay with some things.
Yeah.
And it's okay to put it down. So a good example of that is how many people have been molested by somebody in their family, and the rest of their family wanted to save face and they just were pleasant in front of them at family gatherings.
Yep. Just sweep it under the rug.
How often does that happen?
Way more than people want to know
Yes.
or want to admit.
Now, men won't admit this, and they'll be like, what are you talking about? But women, we all know the predator in the family.
You know it.
And, we all know and we'll make excuses, or just like, I don't put myself in that situation, and I don't do this, and I don't do that, and blah, 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 blah. But those are life experiences. Mm-hmm. There are some things it's okay to say, I don't want a relationship with you anymore. You don't have to say it. You can just remove yourself.
Yep.
It is okay not to save some relationships. But I do think that when it comes in regards to minor issues, like politics, which for some people are major issues.
Yeah.
Most of politics you can work around. Some you can't. Religion.
I've worked my entire life around politics. I don't think about it. I don't talk about it. I don't talk to other people about it. I don't
Right.
read about it. I don't know.
But that's your life experience.
Yep.
I grew up where my stepmom and my dad were marching in Washington. That's not my life experience. My parents were knocking on doors, and they were, that's not my life experience. That's not my kids' experience. I wasn't knocking on doors. They won't have the same feelings about politics that I have, because they were raised by different parents.
Yep.
And so that's where the generational thing comes in.
Yep.
But we have the right to at some point be like, that's not cool. I'm not okay with that. I have a problem with racism. I'll tell you right now, if you're a racist, I don't want anything to do with you.
Amen. Me neither.
And I don't give a shit what your excuse is. I don't care who your daddy was. I don't care why he felt that way. I don't give a shit. I can make that decision. I'm comfortable with that. Sexism, same. I don't have to do that. I don't have to put up with that. I don't have to be your friend. I don't have to be your niece. I don't have to be your cousin. I don't have to be your.
Yeah.
We can just not talk.
Yep.
And that is perfectly fine.
Yep.
When it comes to your parents, you can cut them off. You absolutely can. Or you can work with it.
Yeah.
So I have at times had to tell people in my life that I love you, but we're not going to discuss this.
I've had to give people seasons off.
Yes. I like that term.
You're gonna sit this one out, champ.
You uninvited. I like that. Seasons off. Yeah. Yeah. And did you bring them back?
Yeah.
And it was fine?
I mean, I've given my own parents seasons
And
off.
the lessons were learned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In both ways. Yeah. And sometimes you need that because I'm like, and I'm sure there have been times in my life, especially when I was young and dumb, that I thought, that I was like, oh, I didn't even need them or whatever. But of course you do. But I also needed that time. I needed that time to realize things, and they needed that time too, to let me live and let me learn and grow and fall on my face if I needed to. And so.
Learn your own life lessons. My dad and my mom hated my ex-husband. My dad liked him more than my mom did. My mom hated him. She put a hit on him to beat him up. I've discussed this before. She legit put a hit on him. She wasn't trying to kill him, but she wanted
to rough him up a little bit.
She wanted him to understand pain could come with this. Now I find it very funny and I appreciate it. At that age, I did not, but I did. I do now. But yeah, my dad and I did not have that situation. My dad and I he was better towards the situation. There was a lot of turmoil during that time. I would go years without talking to my mom, 2 and 3 years at a time, because I was mad at her. And a lot of regrets on that one. I do regret that. I do feel like you shouldn't just cut someone off without thinking about it. I do feel like you need to have a sit down and have a hard conversation rather than just cut them off. Mm-hmm. And I think oftentimes people think I'm just cutting them off. I think that you owe them a conversation, because as a parent, sometimes I don't know how wrong I am. And I have had my kids tell me how wrong I am, where at the end of the conversation, I was like, shit, they're right. Same with my parents. I've had conversations with them where I know they thought I was right at the end of it, or I thought they were right at the end of it. But if you don't have the conversation, you continue to have the problem. And I think you need to have the conversation. I think you need to sit them down and have the conversation. And I think that's the biggest issue. But if you have the conversation and they don't make changes and you don't make changes, because sometimes you got to meet in the middle. Some things you can't. There's some things I'm not meeting in the middle on racism. I'm not meeting in the middle on sexism. Okay. But there's some things you can meet in the middle and work it out the best you can. And then if you can't, then you can't. Yeah. But I do think that you should put the work in and that you should try. And I do think when your parents or your kids are stupid and they put stupid shit on social media that embarrasses you, you should be able to say to them, you're making yourself look stupid. You're making me look stupid by osmosis. I don't know if that's the right word. That makes me sound stupid. I don't even know what that means. I'm thinking of the Garfield. Okay. Hey, this is a generational thing. But when I was growing up, every damn classroom had a poster of Garfield, the cat.
Yeah.
And it said, I'm learning by osmosis. And he had a bunch of books attached to his head. Is this your era too?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I ever saw that.
Gen X, you know me. You feel me. Fucking class had Garfield. I'm learning by osmosis. Man. I wish I could stick a book to my fucking head and get it.
Right.
Anyways, I just think right now with it being a political year, there's just a lot of stuff going on.
There sure is.
There's a lot of negative and there's a lot of stuff going on. And like the other night, I'm having a conversation with Madison. And Madison is Rick's daughter who has gone off to college and whatever. And she was raised by him and his mom. And there's a lot of things that Rick and I agree on. He's not a political person, but he is a pretty religious person. I'm more political, less religious. So there's aspects both ways. There's something, Rick and I are very different politically and religiously. Pretty different. Not significant where everyone recognizes it, but if you're talking, you'll get it. And we just don't talk politics.
Yeah.
Because I love him and he's not hurting me and he's good to me and I'm good to him and that's what matters. And at the end of the day, we can have political differences and be just fine as long as we don't talk about them. However, his daughter is college age and gone to college and met new people and experienced new things. And she knows if she goes to her grandma or she goes to her dad, she's going to get every answer she's ever gotten in her whole life. And if she comes to me, she's going to get a different version. Mm-hmm. I'm careful and respectful of the fact that I didn't raise her. I mean, I've been in her life most of her life, but I didn't raise her. And so I'm like, this is how I feel about this. This is what I think about this. This is what I just witnessed. This is what I just read. This is where I read it. Do your own research. Here's where you can research so that it is unbiased. Here is what I found to be most helpful. Let's Google the most unbiased sites together so you can decide how you want to research this. And this is what we do. So we're in the middle of one of these conversations the other day, and in the kitchen where most of my conversations happen, Rick comes in the middle of it and catches just a portion of it, and he does not like the conversation. And he starts putting his part in there. And it does not align with Madison. It's not even me. It's Madison. And Madison is like, Dad, listen, this is what I've read. This is what I've educated myself on. If you haven't educated yourself on it, I don't want to have this conversation. I want to talk to Zeta because I know Zeta educated herself on this because she likes this shit. Like this is, I like it. I'm not going to lie. I was raised on it, you know? And so he's like, oh, we kind of went back and forth, the three of us. And then he left the room. Mm-hmm. And I did have to turn around. I was like, listen, your dad is really smart. And he is. And I was like, he's caring. He's loving. He does everything a man should do. So don't discount that. But understand his life experiences have put him where he is. And your life experiences have put you where you are. And mine have put me where I am. And we're all very different people. Because I don't want her to have negative feelings because they're different than mine.
Yeah.
Because I don't have negative feelings against him because they're different than mine.
Yeah.
His life put him there. So we have different agreements, you know? I just felt like it was a good does this affect you? Like, does anyone in your family talk politics, but religion?
I mean, and even that.
I feel like it's more politics on my side and more religion on yours.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely stirs the pot more in our family, but still we don't. In our family, we do not have fights or arguments or disagreements. That's just not how. Like, I've never even witnessed my parents have a disagreement or an argument. Wow. Not to say that they haven't, but they never did it in front of us. And it's never a fight. It's always a discussion. So anytime anything happened in our family, it was always a conversation and it was a discussion. And if it ever got to a point where it was out of that, to where somebody was getting upset or tempers were getting it was stopped. Like they played referee or somebody else in the family played referee. And like you basically went to your corners till you could calm down and you came back to the discussion. There was never fights or arguments or any kind of negativity like
this is how you end up with Dante.
I know, right? Yeah. Right.
There's a lot of healthiness going on over there.
I mean, that's the same way that he does it. I mean, he's never had like arguments or fights. I've never seen him fight or argue or yell at anybody, any of his kids. Anytime he talks to anybody, it is just a conversation. I'm going to talk to you about this. Yeah. We're gonna discuss this. I want you to, why are we doing this?
When is he teaching classes? I'm being serious right now. I'm not joking. When can we get Dante on here?
Right.
Never. He's always at work.
I know. I hardly get to see him. So.
Damn it. Yeah. No, Rick's a bigger asshole. I mean, I honestly, if he was an asshole, I probably wouldn't like him much.
That's true.
I like the challenge.
It's true. And if Dante was an asshole, I wouldn't like him.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I get it.
I've had my bad boy era where I thought, but that's totally not what I want. I want somebody who loves me.
Rick's not even a bad boy anymore.
Tells me I'm pretty and.
We're just both hard-headed. He's not a bad boy. He's a good guy. We're just hard-headed. Yeah. But again, our life lessons have brought us here. Mm-hmm. And I just try to be respectful of that. And that was I didn't learn that till I was in my mid-30s, maybe late 30s, that my life lessons are not other people's. And I can't expect people to have the same feelings I have. And I'm not going to call them stupid. I will say, I did.
I'm not going to do this. Oh, but wait.
I did. Hang on, I have a confession.
It's confession hour.
It's confession time.
ASMR. You trying to do ASMR?
I was ASMR. Okay. The other day, I went to eat lunch at one of my favorite locations in Waxahachie, which is a bar restaurant, and I'm by myself. And so I don't have a lot of time. I'm just there. And I know the owners of the place I'm in. It's not Al's. I know the owner of the place I'm in. I know all the bartenders, all the waitresses, like I know everybody. And I'm sitting there and I'm just having lunch. I'm not having a drink or anything. And the people behind me are talking politics, and it's a couple. They're insane. the stuff coming out of their mouth is like the craziest stuff I've heard in a lot, more than anything I've read on the internet. Like imagine the worst case scenario, either left, right, in between. It doesn't matter. Just imagine the craziest, all been proven not true. Okay. Crazy stuff. And I'm sitting there. I'm trying to enjoy my lunch. I'm losing my appetite. I'm not gonna lie. I'm losing my appetite. I'm like, these people are crazy and they're gonna vote. And I can't. And so then I'm like, okay, I'm by myself. I have no one to talk to. So I'm like, I'm just going to play on my phone. I'm going to occupy myself. But it just keeps going and it just gets crazier and it gets crazier. So finally I'm like, hey, can I tap out? I'm just going to pay.
I got to get out of here.
And so the owner is like, yeah, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, I just can't listen to these people behind me anymore. It's out of control. They're like, what are they saying? So I told them what they were saying, but like one sentence. I said, they just said this. And their face just dropped. They go, oh, what?
You're not going to tell us what it was?
No.
Okay.
It'll give away.
Oh, okay.
I'm not trying to put my politics are not important to you because you haven't lived my life. And so I'm just like, so I pay. I turn around. I look at them. I hadn't even seen them yet. I've only heard them. I turn around and look at them. Doesn't go together. And they look at me. And I can't, you know me.
Yeah, I do.
I have no filter.
A little bit.
I turned around. I said, y'all sound like fucking idiots. Mm-hmm. If you're going to talk this stupid, don't do it in public. And then I start to walk away. And the door is not 3 feet from this table. And he says to his wife, what did you say? So I turned around. I said you were a fucking idiot.
Let me make myself clear.
And he looked at me. He goes, what? I said, you sound like fucking idiots and educate yourself, please. And I left. And then I got home and I got a message from the owner and they were like, LOL. And they go, next lunch is on me.
Oh my God.
True story. I forgot about that on my catching up. And I thought when I left, should I regret that? I don't fucking that's not my aunt. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone in your family who wants to tell you you're a stupid fucking bitch.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
You're welcome. That's what I'm doing.
Why am I not surprised?
I apologize. Anyways, I don't know if we've solved any of this.
Probably not.
But what I'm saying is you have the right to tell people this is too much for you or this is not, but you do need to make qualified decisions based on what's too much for you. Everybody has a fine line, but don't fuck that fine line up and ruin relationships with people you love because you don't know your line. Yeah. And you're picking battles that aren't that important. Mm-hmm. Pick battles important. So for me, it's racism and sexism. For you, it might be something different. I don't know. You pick what's important to you. But if you cut off enough people, you'll be alone. And do you want to be alone? Maybe you're the problem if you're alone.
Yeah.
If you have 50 family members, or 10 maybe, and you're the only one thinking like you're thinking, you might be the problem. Maybe you're not. But you have to decide if it's worth it.
Yeah.
Before you just cut them off.
Yeah.
But if you do need to cut them off, you need to cut them off. But had my friend cut her parents off that weren't treating her kids necessarily right, she's an only child. Would they be homeless right now? One of them's in dementia. What was she still has to do the right thing.
Yeah. You got to watch. You can't cut off both legs.
You can't. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be 80 one day and you're going to have to worry about what your grandkids think about you.
Yeah.
So I do think it's one of those things you really have, even though sometimes it seems really cut and dry and really easy, like, nah. Right. It's not. Mm-hmm. Because their life experiences brought them to a different place.
Very true.
So that's what I have to say about that.
I have a little insert. It's not as, it's completely different from politics and stuff like, and sexuality and everything, but it's still a difference that it was a conversation that I had this weekend. And so I wanted to bring it up. It was about whether or not you spank your kids. And I know that a lot of people, don't spank their kids, especially these days. They don't spank their kids. I'm not necessarily for or against it. I don't have kids, so I don't have to worry about this problem. The kids that I have to deal with, I'm not allowed to hit, so it doesn't matter anyways.
Perfect.
But I'm not for hitting kids, though. Hitting anybody out of a reaction, I think, is wrong. The way that my parents disciplined us, we did get spankings, but the spankings that we got, they were not a reaction to something.
No.
So if somebody does something, a kid does something wrong and you're hitting them or smacking them or whatever, I don't think that that's right. Now, I know it's different with like toddlers that you're trying to teach not to bite, and they say, oh, so bite them if they bite you, and they'll say that it's not a good thing. Like, I don't know if that works, and I don't have toddlers, but I could understand that. But when it's a child, like, someone that is old enough to actually have a conversation and reason with, or start teaching them about right and wrong and consequences, and when it comes to that.
And then you're like, don't hit, but I'm going to hit you.
Yeah, if they do something that's wrong and you're just going to spank them out of anger or whatever, I don't necessarily see that as a good thing. I think that you can take different routes to get a better, outcome. The way that my parents did it, if we did something that we knew that we did wrong, or we went against what they told us to do, we earned that punishment. So they didn't hit us or spank us right then, but they let us know, okay, you did this, so you are going to be receiving this punishment because you knew that this was what the punishment was going to be.
Right. You knew ahead of time.
Yeah. And then it was a time for you to prepare yourself.
But your parents are good parents.
Yeah.
So what you did that earned that punishment it made sense.
Yeah.
There are some people,
I know, and that's what I'm saying. We had the time to then go to our room to, reflect on what happened, what we did, why we were receiving this punishment, and then it was carried out.
Yeah.
And that was a very effective way, other than just hitting because you did something wrong, or, oh, you're driving me crazy, we're going to the bathroom, I'm going to tear your hide up.
Or you do something and they just slap you.
Yeah. See, I just don't see that being a very effective thing. I understand you're a parent, you get to do whatever you want. But it was my niece. My sister was saying how she was acting up and she was being bad and she was being disrespectful and this and that. And I was like, well, you can tell she hasn't been spanked in her life. And my mom asked her, has she ever been spanked? And my sister's like, no. Like, she's been like swatted a few times, but she never got spanked. I said, well, see, there it is right there. I was like, I got spanked, but only a couple of times. I think I can count on one hand. It's probably 3 times that I received a spanking like that, because I learned from those. And I didn't want to do it again. And it wasn't just the pain, it was the letting my parents down and knowing that I did wrong and the guilt that I felt after it.
But I think that's you, because I wouldn't have thought this prior to having 4 kids. But Zaylee has had more spankings than the other 3 kids combined.
Yeah.
Zoe and Zane never needed spankings. They never talked back. They never fucked up. Those kids were easy as shit. Like, they were like... My cousin said to me, I've told this before on the podcast, my cousin said, you're the best mom. Your kids are awesome. And then I had 2 more kids and I realized, they said, you're an awesome parent. No, they were wrong. I had an awesome, easy kids. My younger kids are awesome too. They're just not easy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what Zaylee had. I just knew there was an issue. Turns out it was autism. I could not spank the autism out of her.
Yeah, some kids,
bless her heart,
spankings are not.
She had more spankings than all the kids combined. But when you have a kid like you're talking about, like, I'm sure that the one you're talking about doesn't have those issues.
No.
So I'm putting that out there because it doesn't fit. The glove doesn't fit everybody. Mm-hmm. Like, I do think that's accurate for most kids. Mm-hmm. But there are exceptions.
Oh, yeah.
Zaylee was the exception, and I have regrets. And, I mean, I didn't beat her, but she had more spankings than the other 3 kids combined. And she's still telling me to get lost. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us. Maybe come back next week and bring a friend.
Yeah. And remember, there's always 3 sides to every story.
2 sides and the truth.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.